Hi, my name is Glenn Story. I'm the founder and CEO of Patriot Mobile. I'd love for you to learn more about Patriot Mobile, www.patriotmobile.com/Gene V. More importantly, I'd like you to be a subscriber to his show. I mean, his Truthcast is amazing. And if you get to listen to some of them, you'll never go back. I really encourage you to come watch it.
Hello, fellow patriots. Gene Valentino here. As we approach our 250th anniversary, let's celebrate the spirit that made this nation the greatest country on earth. I'm so proud to offer you our limited edition 1776 to 2026 commemorative hats, a bold reminder of freedom, faith, and the American dream. Whether you're at a rally or on a golf course or just showing your pride every day, this hat says it all. Grab yours today at GeneValentino.com and let freedom ring.
Good morning, Velvet Hammer. Gene Valentino. How are you?
Your Velvet Hammer, a.k.a. Big Daddy, is in the wings here, ready to go. How are you, Ted?
I'm feeling good, and this is kind of a treat for me. Normally, Mike is doing this, Michael Paul, but he's taking a break, getting his air together before he jumps on that airplane and heads to Italy. So, best of luck to him on that. But we're having some fun today. Gene and I have a kind of a kin background. His father was in broadcasting, and of course, my father was in broadcasting all his life. My father was a nightclub entertainer, got in radio back in the 40s before he went in the Marines and came out and used to have a radio show on radio stations across the South and would sing and read poetry at night, Gene. If you can believe that could make it on radio today, I'm not sure. But that was that. And your father worked for the old Mutual Broadcasting System.
Yeah, he sure did. I remember coming into the studios as a young college kid looking through the tall glass walls, and in the studio there was Jimmy the Greek from Las Vegas giving the scores, giving the numbers on different games or events of the weekend. I remember so many different national names that were in there giving commentary on the issue of the day. The big one during my era and yours was Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon, who was threatened with impeachment had he not resigned, because he was standing up to defend those around him for as a thing to do, an honorable thing to do during his era. Today, the issues that caused Richard Nixon to resign from office pale in comparison to the disgraceful behavior of what we see in the United States Congress today. And yet, Ted, it's still a glorious day.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yes, it's 250 years in 2 days, and it's a blink in the era of time and world history. It's the world's oldest continuously operating constitutional republic. It's amazing we see so many people coming in from around the world to try to get into our nation legally and illegally to try to become us. To that I say liberty and freedom is what everyone deserves, but to come into these borders, liberty and freedom is what you must earn. And it's called the rites of passage. You come into this nation legally, and you stand at my side as a citizen legally, like Ted Tibbett and Gene Valentino and 340 million others. You come in here illegally, you find your ass out the door on an express ticket to where you came from, because you are not going to violate those ahead of you. We have a major problem to clean up because of what's happened 4 years prior to Donald Trump in 45 and 4 years prior to Donald Trump in 47. And I think that's underway. The Declaration of Independence, Ted, it's being celebrated on July 4th. But, it was about 15 months earlier shots were heard around the world. It was the battles at Lexington and Concord. June 1776, Thomas Jefferson begins drafting this document called the Declaration of Independence. July 2nd, John Adams believes July 2nd would forever be celebrated because Congress voted on Independence Day on July 2nd. But it was 2 days later, on July 4th, Congress approved the wording of the United States Declaration of Independence, and that's what we're celebrating in 2 days. With a tear in my eye, I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be prouder. All men created equal. How about that for a statement? Kings ruled at birth. America said government rules only by the consent of the government. And that, my friends, changed history. I couldn't be prouder. How about you?
Well, I'm very proud, and I'm looking at it 250 years back. And the men that signed the Declaration of Independence, it was almost like a death certificate because they were telling the king and England that we don't like what's going on. We want to change. We want to do our own ruling over here. And, certainly it's like standing up to the biggest bully around. Our military and our resources did not equal that of the Great Britain, who had ruled the world for so long. And yet that burning desire in the men and women of this country that they wanted that freedom. And it's interesting. There's a movie comes out in the next week or so, Young Washington. And somebody tell me it's pretty good, but something that I say, and you might comment on this. Number one, how are we doing 250 years later with the assignment our signers gave us? And, also the people that signed that, do we have that number today? What was it, 50-something signees, 56 delegates? Do we have that number today that are that brilliant or could rewrite it or do as good as they did? But basically, 250 years later, what's our report card look like?
Well, to understand where we are and where we're going sometimes requires that we understand where we came from. Just think about it. This document ended slavery, women's suffrage, civil rights, constitutional amendments. This Constitution wasn't designed because people were angels. It was designed because people weren't angels. And despite all the criticism of the United States of America, people still risk their lives to come here. They don't raft to Cuba, do they? They don't take rafts to Cuba. They don't swim to North Korea. And they don't sneak into Venezuela, although it might be the 51st state now that Donald Trump has stuck his nose over there. Who knows? But think about what the real miracle is. This was a gathering of whom? Farmers, lawyers, merchants, ministers, soldiers, producing the greatest governing document in history. This document, the Constitution, has lasted longer than any other constitutional government or governance on the face of the earth. It's amazing to me. And look at all the innovation, Ted. The airplane, mass production, modern electricity systems, the internet, the GPS, Silicon Valley, space exploration, life-saving medical breakthroughs. These are all things that have flourished where freedom flourishes. Liberty and freedom flourish in America, and that's why these innovations are American-born, American-bred, and something America should be proud of. Let's not give it away again to China and the wrongdoers that steal from us with bad intentions.
Well said. And you look back, and I always want to say, if George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, John Hancock, if they could look through a time machine and see us today and they say, guys, you need to change this, you need to do that, Would they do that? Are we pretty well following what they wrote some 250 years ago in their vision for America?
Well, I remember history class telling me Benjamin Franklin reported that a republic, at the Constitutional Convention, it's a republic if you can keep it. And that, to answer your question, that remains true today. America must step up, and that means every person listening to this needs to find their place where they think they can do the best good and defend this nation. You don't necessarily have to go into armed services, although that's an honor unto itself. But there's a lot of place in government, and for you, we want less government, not more government. By the way, this isn't a social rehab clinic for the wayward, but we certainly need good talent to step up and protect the governing documents that have survived 250 years for another 250 years, because we've seen firsthand what bad behavior is doing in other nations. And whether we like our gas price or not, whether we like certain things or not, let's not be selfish. Let's save this nation by saving the world. And it might be, if Donald Trump pulls the trigger on Iran and says, you're just gone too far, your behavior is just too bad, and a nuclear bomb in your hands is not acceptable, we best step up, not because we like it, but because our founding fathers said we needed to protect liberty and freedom throughout the nation so that it can transcend throughout the world.
Well said, and I think the one thing that I'm a little nervous about today is the leadership of our government and the Democratic Party. Back in the 70s, when it was cool to be a Democrat in Mississippi, I was secretary of the Congressional Democratic Party. And I was seeing some changes, and I said, what do we are? What are we? And he said, we want to be a Jeffersonian Democrat, and we support a government that governs the least is the best government. And I said, well, I can buy into that. But we're electing socialists and communists now to our Congress, Gene.
Well, we've allowed that to happen because we've allowed the system to grow out of hand, and the very people electing that type of leadership are people who've lost insight to what American history is all about, because the idiots who are teaching these students fail to even bring this issue up. You know, it's astonishing that fewer than 8,000 words continue governing over 340 million Americans. That's the Constitution, 8,000 words. The brilliance is in its length, its restraint, its ability to resist things, and it's very, very parochial. It's very specific. That's why we take offense recently to the way the Supreme Court rules. It's ruling very strictly based on the words of law. Now, we may not like what's happened in certain court cases recently, but it's up to us and our governing, our elected officials to step in there and change it. You either change it at a statutory level at this local, state, and federal laws, or you go the next step, which I think is now needed. We've talked about it in the past, a constitutional amendment to set up what a citizen is and to define what a man is, a woman. Can you imagine that? A Supreme Court justice, 2 or 3 of them, cannot tell you the difference between a man and a woman? I'll tell you right now, it's the XX chromosome or XY chromosome in your blood. All the confusion and noise in sports, you're either XX or you're XY. Get in the right men's room or the ladies' room based on that test.
Hey.
And if you don't know, go take your go get your treatment elsewhere and figure out who you are through help.
Gene,
but that doesn't mean.
I was just going to tell you, we got to get out of here. Time has run out, but I want to give you an opportunity to wish everybody a happy and safe 4th of July.
Well, first, Michael and Jill, who've taken some time for themselves away, God bless them, and Hopefully they have a wonderful vacation. To you, Ted and Charles, and to the listening audience, God bless America. God bless America, the best thing that the Lord has ever given us. Let's keep it.
Gene Valentino, thank you very much, and you have a blessed, safe 4th of July as well.
Thank you, Ted.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2024, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.